All right, good evening, traders. Let's have a brief audio and visual check while I get a few things set up on my end. How's everybody doing tonight? Starting out with a bang, I see. A banger. Always love the chat, but let's get to it. As always, in the YouTube chat is our Top Step risk disclosure. I can't stress it enough. I say it every single night. I even say it multiple times every single night, and for some reason, it just goes past. It just flies over everyone's heads. I don't know why. Maybe not everyone. It goes through a lot of traders, like in one ear and out the other. Maybe they don't understand what a risk disclosure is. Maybe they don't even understand what the fact that this is for educational purpose and it is not a signals class is. Now, with all that, let's just jump into this market, and then we'll get to some questions after that. It's Nasdaq daily. So as always, we start on the daily chart. I start on the daily chart. These higher time frames kind of get an idea of what's going on in this market. And yeah, we only get one new candlestick every day, so we don't have to look at it for too much. And yeah, as you could tell, this market's a mess, and that's not to be understated. It's a mess from the daily perspective, where if we take a look, and if we look at the last 2 weeks from this period, it's just been very chaotic, very sporadic, right? You can see there's plenty of gaps in both. I mean, mainly, well, we had a gap here, gaps everywhere. You know, whipsaws, wicks on both sides. Just looking at this daily, and yeah, you could consider this to be a range, right, Derek? But how big of a range are we in? It's quite the range on this daily, if we want to consider this to be a range, if we're looking at it from that perspective. Quite the big range on this daily. Is there any rhyme or reason to this? And is there any information that we can gather off of this daily chart? It's hard. It's hard for me to get any good data off of here, where you can see where we gapped down Sunday, had that sell off, recovered it, had a green day, basically filled the gap, and then today during the New York session, we gapped up, right? We gapped up, sold all the way off down to these 230s, 240s, and I took a loss last night. I took a loss last night. Remember, I'll go over that a little bit later. We sold off all the way down to these 240s, rallied all the way back up, basically to where we started the session, you know, as close as it gets, right, where we open and close at the same location. And now tonight, we gap down just a little bit, and we're finding some buyers. We haven't really moved in any direction. So let's zoom into an hourly chart. And yeah, we'll go over my trade last night from last night's class, where we were selling off, right? We were selling off, and I was getting in long. I was getting in long last night around here, and I took a loss. And before I went to bed, I ended up getting into another long right around this zone. So I had 2 trades last night. The one that I had going during slow markets of 3 contracts. And then I got stopped out. And then I got into a long once more, looking for that push back up. And you seen what happened. I mean, I believe this was like the China news. Just completely wrecked me. Daily loss limit, minus $5,000 on those 2 trades, and just completely sold off. Woke up this morning and the market started rallying. And yeah, obviously with the power of hindsight, it's just where are we going to be pulling back? And this market, as of right now, still pretty bullish. It's holding this trend line. It did not hold this trend line, but we are holding this trend line for now. And you can see this is basically where we closed, where we are at on the Friday, you know, this past Friday, where we closed at, and then kind of hanging out at this area. This is a level of support and resistance. You can see it was kind of support and resistance there. It's acting as it on this time, and we're seeing that today during this New York session. I mean, we got that nice pullback in the afternoon, doing that in a combine account and in the house account. Kind of shorted. We shorted what? We shorted up here I know it was in like these 650s or something. We got that pullback. This became support again, and so we're right in this zone. One more time in this zone, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Anything can happen. I think I'm going to err on the side of not having a trade held overnight. I don't think this is definitely not the market to hold a trade overnight, at least for me anyway, with some of the sporadic moves that we've been seeing. Learned my lesson tonight. Not going to be doing it tonight again. Of course, you never know what can happen. Maybe there is a shorter term scalp where I'm going to be out of this before I go to bed, but anything can happen when it comes to the political risk, the headline risk that can move these markets very fast, very dramatic. And then as we zoom into a 5-minute chart, you can see that move last night give me a little bit of PTSD looking at it, where everyone's seen I was getting in long, I don't know, wherever I was getting in long right last night. But then I ended up getting long one more time before I went to bed, and it was right in this zone. And then this happened, right? This happened just in the middle of the night, not even London session. And yeah, sold off a quick 1% to over 200 points and recovered that before basically as the New York session opened. So scary things like that can happen. That just continues to prove to traders and myself and everybody that stop losses is a must. Everybody needs to have a stop loss regardless of how good they might think they are. Stop loss, stop loss, stop loss. Anything can happen. We are in the markets. The markets are open, and world events, correct? They're just stream sniping me. I don't know. That's one heck of a stream snipe if that's what they're doing. They're just like, all right, China. But yeah, here we are tonight. This is going to be a key level. If we do break down through these 50s, the question is it going to be that elusive run of stops and then rally, or are we going to see a continuation down back to where maybe we opened up during this New York session? There was a lot of resistance there. There was a lot of resistance again like pre-market before the New York session opened. So these are the things that I'm looking at. And another possibility is this looking like a bullish flag, right? Bullish flag maybe after a decent rally up. And then as we were zoomed out on that 1 hour chart, as we zoomed out here, we do see a nice bullish trend line, right? That might come into play. So those are from the bullish perspective. From the opposite side, from the bearish perspective, with anything can happen. We have a lot of headline news, headline risk, and technically, you know what? Technically, here's a high. This is a lower high. Can this be a lower high, right? Are we going to form a lower high and then just make some type of a run back down towards 21,000? That is possible, right? Even though the market does spend more time going up and to the right, stair step up, and the market spends more time going up, even though it's not a lot of time the market spends going down, it's vicious, right? Stair step up, elevator down. So when the market does sell off, it's very fast, it's violent, it's volatile, and that's why we said the more time it takes, the market's going up. So more time it takes going up, less time straight down. So that's where we get from stair step up and elevator down. Obviously, you have news events that will be an elevator up or whatever you want to call it. So maybe we get something like that tonight and tomorrow. It wouldn't surprise me. It would just take one random event, one tariff news, some chutes and ladders. Yeah, chutes and ladders type event. But we'll see. We filled the gap, which is nice. Every time we have a gap down, I'm going to always say the same thing. Guess what? We gap down. Gap downs, buying opportunities. to fill it. And sure enough, this one got filled just like last week. And now we are on Wednesday's price action. Let's get to a few questions, and we'll take a look at these other markets. We'll take a look at these other markets as we get to a few questions. Let's take a look at crude oil. I haven't traded crude oil for a while. We did get that news. We got down to 71 and talk about volatility, right? Volatility. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of volatility in crude oil. I think here. Okay, you know what? Here's my opinion on crude oil. I think we just continue this downtrend, right? Is this possible? Do we just continue this downtrend, or is this a news event that changed stuff? I think there's a possibility that we can continue this downtrend. I don't see why not, unless this was a news that I do not know. This is purely looking from a technical standpoint, nothing else. Dakota, let me get a drink of water and we'll get to some questions. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about crude oil. Yeah, you're short crude, Armando. Okay. Is there a reversal in the Nikkei 5-minute? I haven't talked about the Nikkei very much recently. Nikkei, Japanese market. I don't talk about it too much. It's been a little sporadic too. I've been focusing on the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq has had plenty of volatility for me. Isn't there support over there? Tyler Smith, what do you mean support over where? So anyway, this is like, look at this. This is what, here's the Nikkei. This is the Japanese market, Nikkei. And Nikkei, you can see a lot of volatility. It's $25 per tick, so I'm not going to be recommending it for newer traders. But yeah, look, this is a nice flagging pattern, and we broke through it, and we sold off. And so I can make an argument to say that this is can we get some type of another flagging pattern or something similar? Maybe, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Another flagging pattern. I mean, obviously, downside risk. Same case scenario. Look at the time it takes the market to go up. Lots of time to go up. And then when we go down, it's like an elevator. Good example, right? Same exact example, similar to the Nasdaq. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And if there is something to be said, if you want to if there's no political news, right? If there's no political risk, if there's no headline risk, and if this was just a normal market without the crazy headlines coming out, I would be tempted to buy this. I would be tempted to look for longs here in the Nikkei around this zone, just assuming that there's no crazy or tariff war that's going on. This would be a decent buying opportunity. I would be looking for some type of, this is an hourly chart, right? Higher time frames, looking for hourly chart. And you can see, this was, higher lows. This is a nice level of, there's plenty of reason to say that this is a nice level of support and resistance. And then I'll zoom into, say, a 5-minute chart, right? And then I'll kind of zoom in and see if there's any signal, right? If we take a look at this, if we want to go ahead and, I'm going to sit here and convince myself to buy this, So look at something like that. Looking at something like this, it's not looking too bad, to be honest. If we do break, right? If we do break, this thing has a tendency to sell off pretty fast, right? Elevator up or elevator down, stair step up. This is actually looking this might be a decent. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch this. The only thing is it's so volatile. We have some crazy runs like this, right? A nice sell off, sell off, sell off. And these are pretty decent sized sell offs. This one's tempting. I'm not gonna lie, everybody, for a decent trade to the long side. It's just so hard to hold. It's so hard to hold on to a long the way these markets have been acting. It's a lower high on the 1 hour off of this. Is that what you're referring to? This is a 100 tick chart. Well, if we look at history, right? If we look at history, this is what I'm looking at, right? This is decent, and you know there has been not, yeah, this is a little bit, it's not as clean as this flagging pattern. This is a decent one. The question is, will this hold? And let me go through and see. Let me see. What would be the risk reward? Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to I do a lot of thinking out loud for any of the traders that are new. I don't mind thinking out loud and sharing my thought process, because that's kind of what this is, right? This is a class, and I don't mind sharing my thought process. Bro says it's too much risk. One contract on the Nikkei might not be too much. It's $25 a tick. Let's see, where did we open up tonight? Where's 4 p.m.? Then 6. We're only down 0.5%. Wait for structure, don't run in front of it again like yesterday. IGAR. Let's watch this. I'm gonna continue to monitor this, and we'll see. You can see that we've bounced off it once, twice. I'm gonna watch it. We fill the wick. What wick? Failing to stay above 30. Where did it go? 38,900? No. 38,900. 39,000. I can check Delta for you if you want. Does Topstep have the Nikkei? Yeah, Topstep has this Nikkei. This is what you're seeing, right? This is Topstep X. Yeah, I'm waiting. I'm just gonna wait for a moment to see if we could get better price structure. It's just so difficult to trade with the news that's been happening. Honestly, if we didn't have the headline risk, I would already be long this. This is a pretty good setup for the way that I trade. It's technicals, right? This is pure technicals. Decent risk reward. Where's the risk? Risk would probably be around 700, 730, right? My stop loss would be right down here. My entry would be about where we are at. And then my take profit would be probably close to up to somewhere like this. So that's a decent risk reward, even an opportunity to tighten up my stop loss a lot more. So there's my risk reward, something like this. But yeah, we'll see. This is something that I am watching. Nikkei's the Widowmaker. That's natural gas, isn't it? I'm looking for, this isn't going to be an overnight trade, everyone. This is not an overnight trade. This would just be a quick in and a quick out. Dakota, do you ever use trailing stops? I would manually trail my stop depending on the situation. If I'm in multiple contracts, yes, I will close maybe 1 or 2 out as in profit, and then I would trail the stops. Sophism, I feel like the slow market overnight trades are impossible now, and for the next 4 years with possible tweets. I think the beginning, so there's a lot of my opinions in here, right? Everyone has opinions. I think with a new presidency, with the tariff war that's going on, it's a lot more difficult to trade overnight. However, it's not impossible, right? Depending on how you trade and how you manage your overnight trades, there's plenty of opportunity. The way that we're seeing this volatility overnight, traders are tearing it up. You see this in the live accounts here at Topstep. You can see yesterday's best. You see some of the live traders doing really, really well. And I know a lot of them that they trade an overnight session. They'll trade maybe the London session. I don't know their exact strategy. I don't know if they're just, scalping or if they're holding over the entire period. I know a lot of the top traders here at Topstep in a live account, they hold typically a lot longer than, I'd say, the average trader. Bounce back on gold. We'll take a look at gold tonight. Definitely put your entry where your stop loss is. We're going to see. I'm going to watch this. I'm just thinking out this trade. It's like a rough draft. And if you've seen me have my slow markets before, you'll see me analyze these markets. You'll see me go through. We'll talk about these other markets, go through a rough draft kind of idea, right? We look at these higher time frames. For example, let's take a look at gold. Hourly chart. We're going on the hourly chart. Let's zoom out actually to a daily chart. And then the second half of class, I'm going to start going for more in-depth. So everyone be prepared. The last 30 minutes of class, we're going to go into some in-depth stuff. So if you are here to learn, and if you're prepared for some in-depth stuff, we'll go into it. And this is in-depth technical analysis, maybe some in-depth trade management. But I think, like I said, I'm going to keep my promise of going through in depth and answering some questions. So a lot less questions and more in depth, right? So yesterday was fun. We had a lot of trolls in the chat, and that was some fun entertainment. But now I think it's just time to start getting our hands dirty in terms of going a lot more in depth, doing a lot more analysis, and maybe going behind the scenes. It's something I don't really touch on too much. Bro, at Sushi, I can. I've done some classes that I do go a lot in depth with on the emotional side, but we could do that. We could do it. I could definitely do that. But let's take a look at gold. This is a daily chart on gold, and I look at gold almost every night. Obviously, daily chart, one candlestick a day, and we've been watching gold for a very long time. We've been following along gold, and everyone remembers when we were kind of stuck in this kind of range and kind of hovering around 27,000, 2680s. And then to start the year off, we started to notice a change, right? We started to notice a change in the way gold was acting, and it continues to prove correct, where we noticed this change way back at the beginning of the year, and we started to notice that there's a lot more structure in gold. I don't want to go through and highlight every one of these, but yeah, you guys get the idea, where we started to make pretty consistent higher lows and consistent higher highs. And we noticed this at the start of the year, and comparing that to what we were seeing inside this mess. There was no structure. There was not a lot of, I guess, clarity. It was very whipsaw. There was going through quite the transition through December, through most of the end of the year. And now that we started to go into 2025, we're able to see a lot of this market structure. It's a lot cleaner price action, these higher lows, these higher highs, where it's kind of like the buy the dip mentality, looking for basic technicals, support and resistance. How do we get in? How do we get out? And we kind of zoomed out to this higher time frame, right? And we want to get that bigger picture. And then as we start to look for trades in the current session, right, where we're trying to day trade, because this is Topstep, we have to get in and out of positions by the New York session close, and so we're not going to be able to hold for this entire move. However, we can use this information in order to position ourselves in a better trade. So, for example, if that's how gold has been reacting, right, a nice consistent trend, and therefore we're kind of at the high end, right? If we want to look at pattern recognition and say, does this seem like a decent spot to buy gold? and buy this market. And it doesn't even have to be gold, right? This could be any market. You can see me do. I've been watching this Nikkei, looking and seeing if we could get into a long the Nikkei, but it doesn't really matter what market we're trading. Talk about the Nikkei, talk about crude oil, talk about the Nasdaq. You hear Coach Hoop that usually joins me. He's talking about lean hogs, right? It doesn't really matter what market you're trading. You could identify this nice clean price action and then determine whether or not you're getting in at a good trade location, right? 1 hour chart, higher time frame. And so it doesn't really make sense for me to buy gold up here. I'd much rather wait and see if we could get some type of a pullback, right? Look for that type of pullback. Once we get that pullback, look for opportunities to buy this market and position yourself in the direction of the trend, right? Because that's what we want to do. Gold's been rallying. This is a very strong market. I want to get in the direction of the trend. Yes, there are opportunities to the short side, but they're very far and few between in this market, right? You can make money on both ends, but it's harder to make money to the short side when this market has been so bullish, for so long on such a higher time frame. And so I would much rather wait for this market to pull back and look for opportunities to get in long at a better area of opportunity. I mean, there is, I know, to be a devil's advocate, sure, you can make a case to say, if we see some type of reversal pattern up here, maybe I could take a short to see if I can make money on the downside to see if we can get that pullback. It's very valid. I don't recommend that for newer traders. It's a lot harder, and you tend to get yourself in a bad position. You guys see me do it, right? I did it today during the New York session. Trying to short a bullish market, right? Because you have to be correct on what? You have to be correct on timing, and you have to be correct on direction. Today, during the New York session, I was wrong on timing, and I was late. I was being early on the direction, right? So here it is, looking for this type of movement in gold, and I'm always going to be bouncing back to the Nikkei to see if there is going to be a decent long there. All right, let's get to some questions as we continue to monitor these markets. Probably missed a lot of questions. MP is in the chat. Great stuff here tonight. It's great to see you briefly. Once you're done with work, if you're still watching, we got to get some of the Topstep TV members. Other than, we have Coach Jay booked on Wednesdays. Maybe get Coach Hoop. You're in here. Hopefully you have time to get you here and for slow markets. Andre, Hoag, and MP. We need to schedule them on a late night slow market session to get some good conversation and their opinions on this market. Talk cattle with him. I mean, as a trader, and everybody in here can vouch for me. As a trader, there's rarely an occasion where you're not thinking about the markets. It's hard to turn your brain off to stop thinking about the markets. It really is. You're always thinking about these markets. You're always thinking about what's the Nasdaq doing, what's gold doing, what if I would have done that? Dang it, I got stopped out today, and then we sold off, and all of that stuff. And you just can't stop it. It's one of the harder things to trading, as it was mentioned, right? Trading psychology. And then, yeah, of course, Nick for a tick. Yeah, we need to get Nick for a tick. He has a newborn, so that's not going to be too much of a priority for me. I don't want to interrupt anything from that aspect, right? But, there's definitely a world where we can have that again. I'd rather be trading with Topstep. New bumper sticker. What's that? Adidas? Like, all day I dream about, I don't know, there's a small play on words on there somehow. All day I dream about trading. Adidas. All right, that's as far as I'm taking that one. Oh, man. Salone. Gold. What other markets were we looking at? Yeah, I'm just going to just keep an eye on the Nikkei. Still watching. No trades yet. I want to see a nice flush and maybe some recovery. Flush and recovery. ES is crashing, someone says. The ES is crashing. Let's see what a definition of crashing is. Quite a bit of a sell-off. Let's zoom in. We can zoom in. I mean, yeah, ES is selling off, right? This is a level on ES. And if we take a look at the same level, and if we compare this ES to the Nasdaq, let's take a look at the Nasdaq. And here we are. We're coming down to this level. Is this going to be a short like last night? It's starting to look like it. Starting to look like a short on the Nasdaq, to be honest, everybody. If I may admit so myself, if we can't hold this level, if we can't hold these 50s, I mean, do we see a continuation down? Possibly. I mean, support has not been very supportive overnights. I learned that last night. I paper handed my ES short right now. I don't like the wicks to the left. Yeah, that's fair. Process over profits. Can I see the statistics on my VIP team? So Pop Squad is very active. Some traders, I believe, have already passed their combine. I've been telling them to slow down a little bit. Everyone's excited. It's like you get this new shiny toy, and everyone wants to just get it out and all that fun stuff, like Christmas morning, right? Christmas morning. And so always looking to make sure everyone's, slowing down. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and some of the good stuff. Yeah. Continuing. It's the very first week of the VIPs and starting to see some great stuff out of my Pop Squad. I think it's a nice balance for me to where I don't want to overcoach, right? Because, everyone has their own process. I don't want to overcoach, and I don't want to, you have to trade by me, this, and kind of just nudge everybody in the right direction. And see, it's interesting. It's going to be great. I believe I'm going to be talking about it a little bit tomorrow when I'm on Topstep TV during Power Hour. When we have a case like this in the Nasdaq and ES where there's a zone that we keep bouncing off, wouldn't you go long where the chances of breakout higher? Typically, yes. So going back to this Nasdaq, right? This is a zone where we keep bouncing off of, and then we compare that to the ES, and it's basically the same zone that we keep bouncing off of. So, oh wow, there's a 500 contracts right there. Look at that. There's 500 contracts sitting at the bid. 540 sitting at 39 evens. So someone's wanting to buy it right there. I don't know if that's a ghost order or quote spoofing, but someone has that order on the books. Typically, I would say yes. I think in a normal market where we're not seeing the very sporadic news events or random events, right, that will move this market, you could sell this market off in 80 points. I would say yes, this would be a great buying opportunity from a technical side, from purely technicals. This is support. You want to buy at a level of support. It offers decent buying opportunities. However, it's a lot more difficult in an environment that we are currently in and the way that these markets have been reacting because, we've seen that last night. But, yeah, it's a decent buying opportunity. I would not be against anybody who would say, yeah, this is a buying signal. I agree with you. It's just scary overnight lately. And look at the Nikkei. Look at this Nikkei just selling off. And I might do something brave here, everyone. I might do something brave. Famous last words, huh? Famous last words. I might do something brave. So I want to see this market hold up. This is a little bit what has me. This has me a little bit concerned. Okay. What's going through my head? Because all transparency, I'm just going to walk everyone through what's going through my head. The fact that we're at this level of support on the Nasdaq, right? We're at this level of support on the Nasdaq. We're just what we're talking about. We're at this level of support on the ES. And then we take a look at the Nikkei. And we are selling off. So that's Dakota's stock for Hold My Beer. Oh man. Oh, I love everybody in the chat. I took the Nikkei short for 400. Nice. Great work. We need time above the support to observe selling. All right, here we go. Oh, yeah, and then it doesn't want to do ticks. Dollar amount, okay. Do this as dollar amount. Should have just not hesitated on that one. Hesitation can kill you sometimes. $5.25. Let's see if it'll give me one more opportunity. Where were we at when I said that? Where were we at that? When I said I might do something brave, where were we? We were down here at 795, 800. I think we were. Didn't miss it, just market. I don't like market orders on the Nikkei. That's too big of a difference. We were at 790 when I said I might do something brave. I've seen this movie before. It's totally. Most likely, we'll see if it's going to give me another opportunity. Ooh, we don't want 15. Ooh, almost threw 15 on there. Don't want to get that one. Give me that. I am going to make sure. So I am now in a long. $500. I think I'm going to just risk. I'll risk 1,000 on this one. Emergency stop. All right, here we go. Let's see how this trade plays out. I might do something brave. Not the best entry. That's okay. That is all right. Well, this is not an overnight trade. This is going to be a trade that I'm going to be out of probably by the end of class. I'll be okay with building into probably, I would say, 3 contracts. I'm okay with 3 contracts on this one. Yeah, let's see how this one plays out. 3 contracts. Risking 1,000 on this contract. The other ones will be obviously a smaller dollar amount. We'll see how this is going to play out. Isn't that stop really wide? Not really. It's not really a very, very, very wide stop. I'm going to get into 3 contracts. Gold is a beast. Gold's going straight up, huh? Is this new all-time highs? New all-time highs in gold? Is that it? Are we witnessing new all-time highs in gold? Coach Hoop, yep. Yep. New all-time highs in gold. Look at that on the 1 minute. Wow. That's straight up. Is that news? Is that news? It's coming in right at the top of the hour, right at, I mean, we typically, everybody who's been here for a while, There was a time where I was watching gold every single day, right at the top of the hour, right at 8 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Central. We see a spike in volatility in gold, and we're seeing that again. It came in right at 8 p.m. You miss those days? I mean, with this volatility, and if we start seeing something like this, it might come back. Might be talking about those days more often. Might have to watch. I mean, yeah, that was something else. Nice spike in volatility. Shorting gold, the good old days. Yeah, the good old days. Yeah, it was short. That's what it was. It was like every day at 8 p.m., short gold, and that was playing out really interesting. Coach Jay and I was watching. It wasn't in a live account, obviously. We was doing it in a simulated account, doing some tests, doing some back testing, building a process to see how a breakout strategy would play at 8 p.m. Central for gold. All right, let's see if we get into one more. I just added to that. I added to this Nikkei trade. Remember, October, September, go long gold and you're a millionaire every day. I mean, are we back to that? Are we back to this? Just buy gold? Okay, time to focus. Time to focus. Let's watch this trade play out. If we continue to hold and if we can see some more consolidation, I will add my third contract up here. Oh no, it's buy dirt. Yeah, buy dirt, buy gold. Okay, let's get to some more questions while we were watching this trade. Common sense is what is a parabolic mooning market? Gold is a parabolic mooning market. I would not short gold. Parabolic mooning. Parabolic mooning. Oh, you know what? While we're talking about mooning, let's take a look at Bitcoin, a nightly Bitcoin update. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. What's Bitcoin doing? Back and forth, right? Back and forth, 100,000. Back and forth through 100,000. I think we're going to be here for a while. I say it every single night. And every time I pull it up, we are either just above 100,000 or below. And I mean, if anyone buy when we're below it, sell when we're above it, has probably made a lot of great money, to be honest. Lots of good money to be made in Bitcoin if you buy below 100,000 and sell above. To be honest, that's consolidating, right? We've had one heck of a rally in Bitcoin, but who knows? We'll see. Gold's going straight up and Bitcoin's going sideways. Does that mean anything? I don't know. And this trade is very slow. Let's take a look at the Nasdaq, and then we'll get to some more questions, and then we will take a look at. We'll go in depth. We'll go in depth. We have 15 minutes till I start going a lot more in depth on some technicals. Gold to 3,000. Yeah, that's what everyone's been saying. It's just a big round number, and markets are very drawn to big round numbers. Let's see. Let's see on the hourly chart. Where's 3,000 at? That's realistic. I could see it. This is the break of all-time highs, right? We broke out, and now 3,000 is not too hard to think that we're going to get there. 3,000. I mean, we're up what? $400? 300, or we're up $200, $250 from this year already. Nikkei's not moving much, and this is not moving much. Okay, let's go in it. Let's actually do it early. Let's do it early. I don't mind, and I think gold is going to be a really good example on the 1 hour chart of what I want to talk about. Now, if you've been in my class, if you've been to slow markets before, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. It might be a little bit of a repeat, but I'm going to continue to go in depth. You've probably seen it before. I've talked about it a few times. And yeah, we're going to do that again. So for the next 30 to 40 minutes, I'm going to do some very in-depth from what I typically do, market analysis and or technical analysis, and maybe get to some few questions. Now, it's nothing special. It's not rocket science. I've talked about it before. I've shown it before. It's not a big deal, and it's not mine, right? It's you'll see. You'll see. Coach Jay also knows. My level of depth might not be as in depth as what you're probably thinking, right? It might not be as in depth as what you're thinking. Everybody else, keep an eye on the Nikkei for me, if you would, please. I'm going to go ahead and let this zoom out so we get this chart. So keep an eye on the Nikkei for me, chat, if you pretty please. I'll keep checking back. We'll see. I want to get into my third contract. The question is whether we come down and we test this support and I enter in my third contract around this level, or if we continue to consolidate and we hold and we break above and I enter my third contract as we break, say, 830s. So I am fine with either one of these. Either or is fine. We might actually keep an eye out on the Nikkei for me. And yeah, common sense, in depth. Buy the dip, it depends. Buy the dip, it depends. You know, I might end up just buying this. EF47, am I in trouble? Coach, I'm short gold. Ooh, I don't know. As long as you're following your process, you're not in trouble. Yeah, as long as you follow your process, nobody else's, your process, nobody else could tell you what your process is, then yeah, you're never in trouble when you're following your process. I very rarely would, I don't think I'll ever criticize a trader if they take a trade and that's their process. Never. I don't think I ever, yeah. Unless they're just like, yeah, I bought this, and they can't really like say, yeah, I don't know. I just bought it because I liked it. I'm like, yeah, you need to have a process though. Follow a process. Yeah, we're still holding. We don't want to go below these 800s. How do I find a process? Ooh, that would be a fun full class, right? Finding a process. But I don't want to tell everyone it's like, yeah, this is my process, because my process would be different from everybody else's. I try and show everybody what I do each night. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. Last night it did not. It's a lot better to build your own process, because then when you build your own process, it's yours, right? You have the confidence in it, because if you're following someone else, so here's a good, I wouldn't say this is a life lessons that I learned, but I think from I don't have a lot of experience from a lot of the amazing coaches here. Like you've seen a lot of the coaches, a lot of the people here at Topstep they have a lot more experience than I do. Hoag and David Green, Peter Tuchman, Jim Dalton, like everybody, like they have a lot more experience than I do. But I could tell you one thing for sure is whenever I help somebody, like teach somebody, or it's like, hey, I'm going to be raising kids, it needs to be on your own, right? If you're going to win, it needs to be because of you. If you're going to lose, it needs to be because of you, right? Because talking about the emotional side, if you just follow somebody and you make money, is that really their win, right? Like if this is me, just talking it from me, if I follow some person online and they're buying Nikkei and I go and I buy Nikkei myself and I make money, is that my win or was it their win, right? Am I going to really have my own confidence in my own process because I was following what that person was doing? So that to me was not my win. A win's a win, but it wasn't my win. Now, if I follow that person and I lose, guess what? That's not my loss. That's that person's loss. That guy made me lose money, right? And so you get stuck in this very vicious cycle of, are your wins really your wins? Are your losses really your losses? And so that's why I have such a hard time giving this is the way you should do it. You're going to hear me say it depends very often. I say that a lot. Just ask Douglas PC, right? I say it depends probably more often than most people. And that's because of it. We all have to go through it because that's the reality of gaining our own confidence. I want to get into this third long. Let's see if we can get some more support here. TP smashed. Did that make sense to anybody? Sometimes I question myself whether I'm making sense because in my head, sometimes it makes sense. And then when I try and explain it, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, it did. Okay. All right, good. How much am I willing to risk? $3,000. I'm going to be risking $3,000 on this trade. And that's my stop loss is going to be the same. It made no freaking sense. Well, sorry. We're all crazy. Do you always have a big stop loss? Is this a big stop loss? I think big is relative to how you view it. What do you determine big as, right? If you look at what do you consider to be big? This market is just selling off. We are almost there. This will be my third contract. Here we are. Let's see if we could get 40. Do I go for 40? I think I'm just going to get hit right there. Okay, there's my 3 contracts. Keep an eye on this, everybody. Keep an eye on this. I'm fine with this risk. And let's go into the in-depth conversation. Keep an eye on this. I think I'm going to go ahead and switch over to gold. Yeah, we're talking about gold. Gold. Keep an eye on this, everybody. I'm going to rely on the chat to keep me updated whether this is going to be a $3,000 loss or if we are actually going to find some support, because I'm looking at this higher time frame and seeing if this will hold up. This might be last night. This might be slow markets 2.0 from last night, but we will see. Okay, let's take a look at gold. Gold is continuing to push to new all-time highs. Chat's going nuts again. Well, we can let him. Anyway, let's take a look at this, because this is something that I really want to talk about, because gold is such a great example. Gold is such a great example of measured moves. So I love measured moves. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. If you've been here, I've talked about them before. I've talked with Coach Jay on these measured moves, and sometimes they work out kind of creepy. Like, it's weird how accurate it could be sometimes. But now remember, nothing works 100% of the time, and it's never rocket science. It's always relative, right? Just like support and resistance, it's zones. So zones is exactly the same thing. So if I'm watching gold, and this is an hourly time frame, and I'm doing that same thing where I'm looking for these higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, and we want to know, where can I expect this market to go for a take profit? And then where could I expect this market to go to buy the dip? Now, gold has been in such a great trending market, right? Where you could just easy, buy when we get down to the bottom area, and then sell when we get to the top end of this channel. Now, it's easier when it's in a channel, okay? So it's a lot easier when a market's in the channel. You buy the bottom of the channel, sell the top of the channel. But if the market is not in a channel, there's something I love. It's called measured moves. At least that's what I call it. I don't know if this is the right name for it. I don't know. Maybe it's called something else. This totally not my thing. I'm not saying anything about that. So this is a measured move. I just look, the market that I'm trading, the market that I'm looking at in front of me, when we get these pullbacks, this is about how far we get a pullback. So I like to measure these pullbacks on a trending market, and you can measure, and there can be some discretion, right? Because everyone's going to measure these a little bit differently. And like, yeah, well, do we measure this one or do we measure this one, right? So I like to get these measured moves. And what I tend to do, now I don't do this all the time. I don't have the time to do this on every single one. And so I like to stack them together and kind of get an average, right? So I like to get an average of this. So I go through, I measure them. This is an example. You could do this on any market that I've traded, any market that I've experienced, because this kind of based off the market that you're looking at. And you get a decent average of how much does this market sell off when we pull back? Now, in no way, this is not the end all be all type thing. And we could say, okay, on average, we kind of go about there. You could make a nice little zone. Say, okay, we're moving about like that. And not only do I like to get an average on distance, on like price, right? So on average, when we do get a pullback, we've been selling off $43, 1.5% here on gold. About average, you go do the math. I'm not going to do it. This is just eyeballing it. It's a rough estimate, correct? And then same with time. You could do the same thing with time, right? Like, okay, on average, how long is this taking? Well, it's taking, on 19 bars, and this is an hourly chart. So you could say, you know what? This looks to me like it could be average. So on average, these moves have been taking about 19 hours. Okay, so 19 hours. Now, this is just purely eyeballing it because this is a class. I don't have time to go through and do those calculations. But yes, about 18 to 19 hours, we typically get a pullback. And so from there, I take a look, where's this market at? Okay, so if we do get a pullback, I should actually, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and adjust that. So there you go. That looks a little bit more like an average pullback, average time. So from where we are at, I say, well, if we're going to get a pullback, that is what I can expect. I could expect a pullback about like this, right? In terms of distance and time. And so, of course, we could go further, we could go shorter, we could take longer, we could take shorter, but this gives me a decent reference when trading. Does that make sense to everybody here? So that's only on a pullback. And you could also do the same thing to continuations, right? I mean, you could do the same thing to the long side. On average, when we do start to rally, how far do we move to the long side? So, let's go ahead and I could put this over here and say, well, I could basically do the same thing to the long side. When we get a nice rally, how far do we move? Well, could we realistically expect something similar? Well, I could go back and I could test it. I could test it and see when we do get a nice rally, how far does this market move? And basically do the same thing. And then, doing this, you could see, actually this market's pretty bullish because when we do rally, we go up a whole lot more than we go down on these pullbacks. And, this is just very, very rough once again. And you could see the pullbacks are a lot smaller than these rallies. technically do the same thing, kind of get like a little bit of an average there, and basically do that. Say, you know what? Here we are. Let's see. On this current rally that we're at here on gold, we still have some room to go. On average, we have some room to go on this market. This is gold. We are rallying, and if the market could easily continue to rally, and I would be okay. Once we start getting around this, then I could start thinking, okay, maybe this moves over. We're kind of extended. We've already got an average move to the long side, and now I could start expecting some pullback. And then when we start to see the pullback, it's the same thing. It's like, okay, now if we get here and we're looking for a pullback, then I should maybe expect a pullback. Any questions? That is a little bit in depth. I mean, there's a lot more to it. That's just like, that's a top-down view. That really is the top-down view of like a measured moves. Will this help you? I hope so. I hope it will help somebody in the chat, and I hope it will, help anybody. Maybe it helps somebody with a decision. Maybe it helps them with their process or whatever it is. But I like to do that. Now, you could go in depth as much. You can make it as complex as you wanted. For example, you could go through and you could actually do the calculation. Like, okay, that move was X. This move. Like, I'll measure all 5 moves, divide it by 5, and get the average. Right? If you really want to go through and do that, I mean, if you have the time, right? Higher things where it's like, yeah, I have the time, so I'm going to measure all these moves, and then I'm going to divide it by however many moves I get the exact number. You could go through and do that. Now, this is an hourly chart, so odds are you'll have the time to do that. This is what I used to do. This is actually what I do in my options when I'm looking at a stock on a daily chart. I have all day to calculate this. And so when I'm looking at a stock, that's what I do. For example, if we take a look at like the Nasdaq on the daily, and if we pretend that this is a stock, this is what I do. And this is how I determine my options. Am I looking to sell puts or buy calls or sell calls or what? That is what I look for. And it applies to so many different markets. I remember back here, this was one of my favorite times last year, over a year ago. This is 2023. This is one of my biggest trades for a while, that's what was happening. Look at this pullback. We had a pullback, we had another pullback, and we had a similar pullback. And I was fortunate enough to get in a very good long position here for some 3 months out long, options and some of my futures positions, and it played out really well. Of course, I closed it here. Unfortunately, I closed it as we got to this top, and then I let a little bit of a run go, but that is the same thing I like to do. It's typically better on higher time frames, but it can be applied on a lot of different time frames, right? Markets are fractal. You could use it on a 5-minute, an hourly, a daily. But I typically, for the futures market, I like an hourly chart because that gives me a decent perspective. It's decent, right? And you could kind of see it. Maybe you could kind of start eyeballing it. I've gotten to a point where I like to just visually, you could kind of tell, right, yeah, from here to here. Now, Nasdaq's a little bit abnormal. Nasdaq is abnormal because we're in abnormal market conditions with a peak in volatility, such a big move or change in volatility. But in a way, you could still kind of do it, right? You come in and you could just go through and measure these moves, and they'll still be relatively accurate, right? It'll be relatively accurate when it comes to these pullbacks in a decent trending market. Oh, Nikkei. What's Nikkei doing? I forgot. Did you guys remind me and I just didn't pay attention? You guys reminded me and I didn't pay attention. Is that right? I just flat out forgot about this trade. You guys did remind me. Well, it's still in it. Nothing wrong with it. I missed it? What do you mean? I didn't miss anything. I missed the chat telling me, but this trade's still valid. NKD cooked for a minute. Did this? Who had this clinch? Did this clinch? Everyone was clinching on this. This is where I tell you, try not to care, right? Try not to care. You don't have to be hyper focused on your like this, especially during slow markets where, oh man, the level of panic, I could imagine what was probably going on in the chat. Yeah, I might have to rewatch it. Was chat going crazy when the market was down here and I missed it? Did we have like a bunch of trolls in the chat saying how bad of a trader I am? I missed some good entertainment. Dang it. Oh well. Process over profits, Coach J. Coach J. Oh, I get. Oh, I missed a good one then. I missed an area to add. No, I wouldn't add to this. Nope. This is my max allocated position on this in particular trade. Just close your eyes and buy is what you're saying? No. JP, my account balance does not lie. All right. I probably need to pay closer attention to the chat, but does this make sense to everybody? The way I described this, oh, look at that. I mean, the Nasdaq one plays out pretty well, right? Look, decent pullbacks. And it's the same thing with so many markets. When you see these decent pullbacks, and yeah, on average, yeah, you know what? Guess what? We kind of came close to what we were expecting. Now, it's not going to be 100%. This is not going to be perfect. But this gives you a decent way to judge these markets to where you don't get caught in such a very bad position. I tend to get caught in bad positions sometimes, and I come back and be like, crap, that I should have just waited because of this or that. And part of it, I questioned myself today during fast markets, right? Where look at this. I should have maybe pulled this out during fast markets today. We had this nice move up. And if we take this move up and we do something like this, it's not 100%, but I'm pretty sure if we measure these nice rallies, there's not a lot of data. This is only 2 days worth of data here. And I'm sure we could come to some type of conclusion because it's not exact. It's not 100%. And we maybe get some type of average from these rallies. I'm sure there's an average to be had there, an average for sure to be had. And so if we're going to get a leg up, you can kind of have some type of expectation. Now, of course, with anything else, right? With anything else, when I'm reviewing trader statistics, it's the same thing. The more data you have, the more confident you can be. I mean, this market's been so crazy. How much do you want to measure these moves, right? Like how many data points do you want to measure, and so forth. So lots of questions as always. Until then, let's answer some questions in the chat, and we can all pocket watch this position. We could answer questions and pocket watch this trade. We could pocket watch it together. Kentucky Blue. Dobie mentioned strategy roulette today. How do you settle in on your own process instead of just trying out everything? That is a good conversation. So many traders get stuck playing that game of what you're saying, strategy roulette, right? Trying so many different strategies, trying this strategy, trying that strategy. Let's use a simple moving average. Let's use a VWAP. Let's use RSI, Bollinger Bands. And it's usually with indicators. It's really with indicators, to be honest, where traders go, I did it. A lot of traders I know has been there, done that, trying so many different indicators. And I think because I've went through that, I've realized that the more simple you make your trading, the better off I am, right? Keep it simple. What you guys seen me do here tonight, The way I went through this Nasdaq, right? Like this Nasdaq, I talked about gold, right? I talked about gold being in a very nice trending market. It doesn't get much simpler than this. Now, trading it is a hard thing, right? It's a lot easier said than done. Buy low, sell high. Buy low, sell high. Buy low, sell high. That's very easy to say. Very hard to do, right? Very easy to say, very hard to do. But keeping it as simple as you can. So whatever you can use in your own process to get in and get out of these markets, keeping you in like not overcomplicating it, as simple as possible, the better off you are. And I of course, learned that the very, very hard way. I never did have a coach. I never did have something like TopstepTV or like so many resources out there that are just, just losing live money in the markets. Growing up and learning it the hard way was like, gosh, man, dang, this Bollinger Band does not work every time. Wait, you mean I just don't sell it if we are overextended at 2 ATR and vice versa? Yeah, too often. Honestly, I could even make an argument. The less times you switch, the quicker you are at finding consistency. YouTube is, one of the worst places to learn. Yeah, that's not a joke. That is true. You guys, you want to see something else? It's a little bit, you want to see me do something else? I'm going to add to this position. Let's get in. Live accounts are definitely harder than sim accounts. There we go. So I'm not adding to my risk. I'm adding to the position size. Risk is lowered. This is a lower amount of risk. I'm actually going to zoom in here. Let's see, we have 15 minutes. How is that possible? How's what possible? This is why I'm moving my stop up, is because of this pivot. You're so tired of over trading. Be more selective. Be more selective. I know there's some features where if you go into these settings, and there are some risk features that will allow you to adjust that, right? Correct me? Or is it in this one? Where you can come in here and say max trades per day. So if you're struggling to overtrade, if you're struggling on your overtrading, max trades per day, max trades per week. Here we go. That would be the best. I've seen a lot of positive feedback from traders who overtrade. And then, are you going to be a better trader if you only look at one trade per day? Yes. If maybe 2 trades a day, this will prevent you from overtrading. Now, you have to have the discipline to actually, put this in and then hit lockout, right? That's where the discipline comes in. But at least you could have the time to put in this and then you'd have to click this button, lock out these risk settings for the day, but then you have to come in and do it every day, right? So it does take some discipline, because if you don't do that, you have the tendency to, just place another trade. So that is what should help you. I love this. I absolutely love this. All right, back to that Nikkei. What's the Nikkei doing? Hey, looky there. What's that saying? Where are you at? Bankroll. I'm sure you'll say this. This sounds like a bankroll. Bankroll, are you in the chat? A blind squirrel finds a nut, or what's that saying? I'm sure that there's some smart thing out there. This sounds like a comment from you, Bankroll. A blind squirrel would find a nut every once in a while. Oh, there you are. Right? Blind squirrel finds a nut. Every dog has its day. I spend enough time on gold. I'm going to manage this trade. Even a blind squirrel can find a nut. I watched Kettle Never Boils. You flip a coin enough, eventually you'll get heads. I'm running out of them. Topstep TV and being on YouTube has tested my my quotes, my so many. I've became better at what do you want to call it? I'm getting better at being on air when it comes to sayings, when it comes to watching what I say, when it comes to my analogies and all that. I've had to brief up. I used them all for the first 6 months. We should have me on Joe Rogan. Politically correct. I catch myself saying things. Chat always catches me saying things too. See, this is slow markets. This is what I'm used to. This is what I like. I like these slow markets. A broken clock is right twice a day. You know, I have a watch that the battery died on the watch, and I changed it to where the New York session opens, and I've always kept it there. I actually wore it yesterday too. I have a watch that's broken, and I just keep the time to the New York session open, 8:30 Central, and I've kept it there. It's an older watch. Be still and see. Don't say anything, Game Freak. No, we don't need any of that here. What's the difference between Topstep and TradeView? A broken clock never works. Explain the meaning of watch in baseball terms. Yeah. What do you think about Jesus Cristo? Okay, 10 minutes left. 10 minutes left. Well, it was a good session tonight. It was a fun one. I enjoyed it. Went a little bit in depth. What do you guys think? What does everybody think about a little bit of in depth and some of that good educational stuff? Where's my take profit? Same thing as last night. I probably would be okay seeing that this market retrace back up to 39,000. 39,000, and actually, you know what? Even right around here. That worked. You like the deep dives? Moon, Coach J. Market vector physics. What is that? Is that what I went through? Good stuff. More in depth, please. You should do a poll and ask other topics. I've been doing polls. I've been trying. I'm going to continue to do whatever I can to always improve. Since you're not in my team, everything in here is gold. Yeah, I've been giving it out like as much as I can to my Pop Squad VIP team. Yeah, Pop Squad VIP team. They get right now. They get the. I don't want to say the best, because I do say as much as I can when I'm in my slow markets, to be honest. I don't want to say there's no difference between my Pop Squad VIP team and what I'm doing here in slow markets. It's just that the VIP team, who's drafted, and there's going to be a draft every season, I'm able to just dedicate more time, right? It's similar content. So what I'm saying, that's something I would say in my VIP. I talk about those measured moves. I talk about trade management. I talk about this and that and that. But the VIP, I'm able to spend more time and answer questions, right? I mean, I'm answering questions here, but it gets up to almost like 16, 17, 1,800 traders, and I can't really spend as much time answering the traders' questions or going more in depth. But the group, the VIP team, I've been able to spend more time doing that, chatting, answering questions, and more to come. And it's full 3 months. It's a whole season. That they get me. We'll see. I haven't been too strict yet. It's nice to see how they're trading. I'm hoping for this trade to come to a conclusion here. I want to see it come to a conclusion. Do you see how I added to that contract? I'm actually thinking about adding another one here. I could very well add one more contract here, with keeping my risk at $3,000. Like I said, I don't want to risk more than $3,000 on this trade. I'm already in a decent position. So here's the thing, with a live account, I could actually buy market and push this market up to 35. That would be the technical break that I'm wanting to see. and it's not add so I get more. Just keep adding. If it keeps going up, just keep buying. Scale in when profit. Let's see. I want to see a push up into these 60s. I'll close one out so you guys could see me close one out. Move the market on a very micro, small scale. I've done it before. I think I've done it a lot of times for slow markets. Yeah, I could buy market and it would just be the next fill price. And so, yeah, buy market, I'd get filled at 830. A sell market, I'd get filled at 825. And this market is thin, right? There's not a lot of movement in this. And so, yeah, I could buy market and you'll see my order go through. That's what happens in a live account. You'll see my order go through these order books. You'll see it get filled. You'll see the market move. You won't see any of that in like the Nasdaq though. Douglas, I know what you're getting. I know exactly what you're getting at. Douglas, you hurry and get long. I'll throw on 100 contracts and move the market for you. If you're in a sim account, then it's not gonna. You're gonna be able to get those fills so much easier. Yeah, we don't want any of that. When I started doing futures this year, I felt like I've been doing to people for years, dumping markets, but now I got to fill it. I don't know if I understood that one. Sim. Douglas knows exactly what I mean. I'm not sure. Dakota, you don't use market structure in your trading. When it breaks the structure, you enter the trade. It depends on what you're talking about. Market structure can mean like, are you talking about support and resistance? Are you talking about pullbacks, breakouts, consolidation? Birdman, tune into Topstep TV on the day show. This season has already been drafted. So Topstep holds a draft. There's 10 teams. Each team has 50 traders. And there's a draft for those 50 traders for each team. And then then after the next season, we'll hold another draft. Then there'll be another draft, right? And so, yes, if you've missed out on this team, you'll have an opportunity to get on to the next. I feel right at home in these slow markets. It feels good that these markets are slow and we do not have any news that are just wrecking us, right? In the live account, playing in the Nikkei, the Japanese market. This is like my old true love. I have a love-hate relationship with the Nikkei. Sometimes it smacks me around and hits my loss. Sometimes I'm able to I gotta watch what I say here, but squeeze some money out of the market. Yeah, hit the take profit. So don't jinx it. No, I'm happy with the way, even it doesn't matter. You see, typically what the Nikkei typically likes to do is just, as soon as I get in, it would just sell off. The fact that we're just kind of going slow, I'm happy. I don't believe in jinx. I don't believe in conspiracies. I don't believe in any of that. I believe in facts and what is in front of me. So, all right, I think I'm gonna leave it at that. Should we leave it at that? The hardest money you'll ever make? Yeah. Yeah, I don't believe in jinx. I don't believe in any of it. The old man is tired. Went to sleep early. Have a good evening, everyone. Andrew's in the chat. We need him to join us one of these nights. So, okay. Take care, everybody. Awesome. Another trade going into tonight. I'm going to get out of this before I go to bed. Remember, I'm not going to let this run overnight. I plan on closing this before I go to bed. Other than that, take care, everybody, and see you bright and early tomorrow afternoon for Power Hour or tomorrow night again. So take care and see you then.